here we have the YouTuber Lucas, uh, or Deflate, which is his channel, uh, talking about uh the problem of evil and atheists assuming God's existence when talking about it. Um, let's listen, because I think this video is going to be pretty funny.
Oftentimes, you'll hear atheists claim that if God existed, there would certainly be no evil such as massacres, wars, child abuse, cancer, and what have you. Now, the problem of evil is a serious and complex one, and I will certainly not be able to cover all its aspects in one single video. But the one thing you will learn in this video is why it is the height of inconsistency for an atheist to even talk about the problem of evil. That's because, on the assumption of atheism, the notion that there is a dichotomy between good and evil is as delusional as the notion that green unicorns and pink dragons race against each other around planet Earth.
Wait, I don't understand that. That's hilarious. Because when talking about the problems of evil, it's uh, what is going on is showing inconsistencies with the nature of an all-knowing, all-powerful being that can exist everywhere all at once. Um, atheists are uh, not really assuming God's existence. They're just saying if such a divinity exists, there we see these possible problems with what is going on in the world as we see it today. And the idea of a dichotomy is something that is in the Christian mythology. You got, you know, God versus the devil, good versus evil, sinners versus saints, angels versus demons. So I'm not sure what he's really getting at.
This is Lucas from Deflate, countering the skeptics' objections to Christianity. If you're new here, click that subscribe button to get our upcoming videos. So let's start with a couple of basics. On atheism, we are just one among the many thousands of species which evolved from that one common ancestor cell which crawled out of the prebiotic soup some 4 billion years ago. That is, just like snails, rats, sharks, and butterflies, we fight for survival as described by Darwin's beautiful theory of evolution. Now,
Uh, yes, that is what happened. But nowadays, it's slightly different for humans, as living in societies as we do now. Uh, we don't have as much environmental pressures, uh, which has changed our uh, evolutionary growth rate. We don't develop as many mutations as fast, so there is that slight lesser change. Um, oh shoot.
of course, somewhere along the way, we miraculously picked up a mind, language, the capacity to create art, literature, and music, but never mind, we're just another species more or less on par with guinea pigs, mushrooms, and chimpanzees. That's
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, um, basically, if you get down to it, we're pretty much no different than all the other species. Um, the fact that we can, uh, we're like self-aware to the extent that we are and what we can do is just, something that, I mean, is kind of unique to humans, but not extremely. We were just able to, attain these abilities through the evolutionary pressures of the past that you know shaped humanity to the way it is.
That's why Rationality Rules would frequently start his video like this.
Why hello my fellow apes, I hope that you're well.
Now, what is interesting is that atheists usually don't complain about there being a problem of evil in the animal kingdom. I mean, I have never heard anyone talking about humpback whales committing atrocities when swallowing tons of krill. Nor have I ever heard an atheist being outraged at the fact that among certain kinds of apes, males unjustly commit rape and infanticide when they copulate with females by force and kill off their offspring.
Right, because they're still animals that um live off of their baser instincts. Animals eating, that's animals eating. That's part of nature. That's always going to happen. You're not going to stop whales from eating krill, or unless you want to genetically modify them to be photosynthetic, which is not going to happen anytime soon. And with primates and stuff, yes, it is still it's their animal nature. They're living off of baser instincts, which is different from humans, uh, who are more self-aware and sympathetic and empathic towards other people. So, which is why we decided, raping and murdering people and the such is wrong.
Why the silence? Well, when whales eat krill, they're just fighting for survival. And when male apes force themselves on females and kill their kids, well, they're just propagating their genes. That's simply the beauty of natural selection taking its wondrous course, as Darwin said. So from whales and apes, back to us humans. Though again, according to Rationality Rules and his fellow atheists, there is no real difference anyway. Now here's the rub. Atheists claim that we are just another kind of animal, fighting for survival. However, when apes in the jungle kill babies and force themselves on their females, atheists are happy to put this into the magic trunk of Darwin's evolution, as their never questioned dogma which supposedly explains everything. That's nature taking its course according to the priests and popes of atheism, and
Okay, what are you wanting atheists to do? Like, start arresting these people, or uh, taking these animals to court for, like a lion killing a gazelle, or uh, a wolf taking down a deer, or are you wanting to have atheists say it's okay for humans to do this? Because I'm not sure what this argument is supposed to be getting at.
Dawkins's followers are of course more than happy to blindly believe it. However, when they see the same thing happening among human apes, they ditch natural selection and the fight for survival and suddenly start ranting about evil instead. Now, how does this make any sense? Are we
It makes sense because uh, humans are different than other animals, as we don't just survive on our baser instincts. We can rationalize, which allows us to realize that uh, other people do feel pain, so, raping somebody and killing their baby is going to be detrimental. Uh, that is that is one of the big differences, which is why humans and animals don't act the same in that capacity.
animals or are we not? Well, welcome to the twisted logic of irrationality rules and his fellow apes. Now, to be fair, some atheists are at least rational enough to recognize that none of this makes any sense. And so they try to fix up the situation a little bit. They would say that though we're animals similar to those raping apes, evolution has miraculously endowed us with a sense of what is good and evil as a helpful adaptation for our species to thrive and survive, even though clearly there is no such thing as good and evil, but there's only the illusion of it, which we took on in the process of evolution.
Well, no. Being that humans are social creatures with the capacity to empathize with each other, uh, we are rewarded with like dopamine and serotonin and stuff when we do nice things to people or each other, and not so much rewarded when we are cruel to others. Can Not for every single person in the population, but for the most part, um, evolution has kind of helped humanity evolve to be more compassionate to each other because it provides a greater evolutionary benefit in the long run to uh, be nice to people compared to being mean to people.
In fact, some of the most respectable atheist philosophers make exactly these claims, such as Michael Ruse, who says, ethics, as we understand it, is an illusion fobbed off on us by our genes to get us to cooperate. Morality, or more strictly, our belief in morality, is merely an adaptation put in place to further our reproductive ends. And so we come full circle. On atheism, evil does not actually exist, other than as a figment of our imagination. That's why when atheists complain about things like genocide, war crimes, or the problem of evil in general, they're basically complaining about something which, according to them, should be taken as seriously as the flying spaghetti monster. The notion that this could be considered a rational position by any stretch of the imagination must be, I guess, one of the dogmas atheists simply embrace with blind faith.
See, he's doing it again. He's taking like one person's quote and then making it seem like that is what all atheists believe when like there are no like set leaders of atheists and stuff. Atheism is just rejecting the idea of a belief in a divinity. So if you don't accept any claim of divinity, you're an atheist. But you can still have varying beliefs as an atheist. The Hindu belief system is considered an atheistic belief system. They don't believe in a divinity, but they have a wide, varying belief of supernatural systems that are set up that they believe in. You got atheists that believe in ghosts. You got lots of supernatural stuff that there are various groups of atheists that believe in. It's just if you're an atheist, you just don't believe in a god.
And by the way, you don't have to take my word for what I just said, because what's telling is that it is atheist philosophers themselves who have admitted that on the assumption that atheism is true, their position on the issues of justice and evil are as inconsistent as anything could be. I mean, pick Bertrand Russell, for example, who, while advocating for human rights, also confessed that what he's doing does not make any sense, given that he is also an atheist. Or Joel Marx, an atheist philosopher who says, I have long been laboring under an unexamined assumption, namely that there is such a thing as right and wrong. I now believe there isn't. I became convinced that atheism implies amorality. He goes on to say,
That's just his his view. That doesn't make it the view of every single atheist. I I happen to believe that there are rights and wrongs. Um, some things are inherently wrong, like usually various extreme things like, murder, rape, genocide, slavery. Um, Usually, if it deals with like depriving people of their liberty or causing some kind of severe trauma, it's usually something that's wrong.
Say that believers are correct. Without God, there is no morality. In other words, on atheism, talking about right and wrong, as well as good and evil, is inconsistent nonsense. So as long as you believe that all there is in the universe are atoms and biomolecules, which evolution has miraculously, by the wave of a magic wand, turned into apple trees, raping apes, and Homo sapiens, then you have no reason to suppose that
Now, I like how he just slipped in raping apes. That's like, dude, that was just something hilarious, actually.
good and evil actually exist, other than as an illusory figment of our imagination. And why would anyone care about illusions? That would be as rational as getting all worked up about whether the non-existing green unicorn or the non-existing pink dragon is winning the non-happening competition around planet Earth. On the other hand, if you actually want to affirm that evil is not just an illusory problem, but a real one, you have to allow for the existence of something that transcends both nature and humanity. Something which makes the notion of good and evil plausible. A God who created human beings not as another kind of animal fighting for survival, but as creatures with intrinsic value and dignity is a pretty good start and candidate for that.
Well, first, though, you still have to prove that this God exists, and then prove that the values that humans have is because of this God. Otherwise, you're just expecting somebody to just believe because you think atheism doesn't work.
For lots of good reasons that I will not get into in this video now. And so on the assumption of theism, evil can be consistently talked about as a real problem. This leaves atheists with the following trilemma. The first option they have is to be philosophically consistent, become moral nihilists, and stop talking about the non-existing problem of evil. This leads to a rather bleak kind of existence, but has at least some integrity to it. Second option, they keep complaining about evil with the painful awareness of their irrationality, as they are complaining about something which, in their worldview, is nothing but an illusion. And the third option, atheists may admit that evil is actually real, while also admitting that they have to ditch their atheism to make this claim in the first place.
No, you don't have to do any of those. I mean, you can. He thinks his argument completely deflates the idea of atheism, which he is pretty much trying to get people to go with number 3, which is ditch atheism and believe in God. But the problem, having moral rights and wrongs does not I can't really get my thoughts together right at the moment.
This, of course, is scary, considering the dogmatic fervor with which atheists try to defend their position. In a nutshell, what all of this means is exactly what I said at the beginning. Atheists who talk about the problem of evil are, according to them, engaging in self-delusional gibberish about what doesn't exist in the first place. In contrast, any atheist who wants to actually engage in rational and coherent talk about real evil cannot do so unless he or she assumes that God exists. So,
I'm gonna call him out on this actually. Because, no, you don't have to assume a God exists in order to wanna, you know, have some kind of sense of right and wrong. This is just another argument of, you know, you can only have morals with a divinity. Um, and, and that he's Christian. I could also go into like various verses which show that even according to his probably his own idea of evil, that his God is evil. Um, what like having the problem with primates raping each other, his God, or uh, what can be attributed to the divinity, has told people to rape, to commit genocide, as well as to enslave people.
is evil evidence that God doesn't exist, as atheists so often claim? Far from it. If anything, by bringing up the problem of evil, atheists actually end up deflating their own atheism all by themselves. So thank you. I'm happy to take that. I guess the fact that atheists, who are supposedly all about evidence, end up arguing the case for God when bringing up their biggest objection against him may itself be taken as good evidence for the rationality of belief in God.
I'm happy he took almost 10 minutes just to say that he was completely wrong about everything that he was talking about. But there we go.